So now that we got the basic navigation set up, it's time to work on this meal details screen, because of course that screen is not finished yet. At the moment, I'm only outputting my image and my title here, and that's not enough. Instead, this image here should just be the topmost element on this screen, right below the title and the app bar. But below the image, I then want to have a list of ingredients and a list of step-by-step instructions. And therefore, here in the meal details screen widget, I'll put this image here into a column widget, since we now won't just have one single widget here as a body, but multiple widgets. And the image is just one of them. So I'll cut that and paste it in here. And now below that image, I want to have my ingredients. Now for that, I'll start by adding a sized box to have some spacing between the image and the next section. And I'll give this a height of, let's say, 14. And then I'll add a text widget, which kind of acts as a title for the next section of this screen. And the next section will be my list of ingredients, hence here I'll give this a title of ingredients. And this can simply be hard-coded like this. Now I want to adjust the styling, and for that I'll set the style to a style that's taken from my theme. So I'll access theme of context text theme, and here I want to access the title large style. Now I will add this exclamation mark to tell Dart that this will exist, so that then I can call copy with on that title large text variant. And now this also can't be const anymore, by the way. So now that I copy this, I then want to override the color and set this equal to theme of context color scheme, like this, and there choose on background as a color. So that's now the title for the next section. Below that title, I then want to output all the ingredients of the selected meal. And if you take another look at the dummy data, you will see that the ingredients is in the end just a list of strings, just as the steps will be a list of strings thereafter. So therefore here, we can create a for loop to loop through all the ingredients. So for final ingredient in meal.ingredients, this is how we can go through all the ingredients here. And I'm using this for loop syntax that can be used inside of a list, this list here, to add items to it. And the item I want to add for every ingredient here is a text widget where I output the ingredient. Because again, meal ingredients is a list of strings, so here I'm outputting a string. If I save this and I select a meal, you now see the title ingredients here, and below that some ingredients, which of course are not readable though. So in order to make this readable, I'll copy the style setup here from my ingredients title and add this here to this text. But here I don't want to use title large as a base style, but instead body medium. And of course you can play around with different styles here to find the one you personally like most. Now I think some spacing between this ingredients title and the actual ingredients would also be nice to have. Therefore, before this for loop, I'll add a sized box with a height of 14 maybe, so that we have some spacing here. And I'd say that looks quite decent. And I think it might look even a bit better if we go back to this title here and change the color from on background to primary, so that the title is highlighted like this. We can even make it bold by also setting font weight to font weight bold here, to make the title stand out a bit more. And with that, I'm outputting my ingredients. Now, in addition to the ingredients, I of course also want to output the step-by-step instructions, and therefore we can again add a sized box below this for loop here, and here maybe add a space of 24 pixels. Before we then copy and paste this title, we could also put it into a separate widget, but here, since it's not a lot of code and I'm only repeating it once, I'm just copy and pasting it. So I'm outputting it here, and then I'll say steps. And then I'll copy and paste this loop. Again, we could put it into a separate widget, but here I'll just copy and paste it. And actually I'll copy and paste it together with this sized box, which we added between title and loop, to add this here below this steps title. And here, of course, I don't go through meal ingredients, but through meal steps. And here I have my individual step, which is then output like this. If we now save this, we got the steps here, and this of course looks ugly and is not that easy to read, so here I definitely want to fine-tune this. To improve the looks of that, I'll go to that text and add a text alignment of text align center, so that's not inside of the style, but added directly to the text widget. And in addition, I'll wrap this text widget with some padding, some symmetric padding though, where horizontally I want to have a padding of, let's say, 12, but vertically I want to have a padding of 16. And now I'm getting a warning here because now I'm actually exceeding the available screen height, but I'll fix this in a second. If we take a look at it, this looks better, though now it's actually too much space. So let's actually switch from vertical 16 to vertical 8. And nonetheless, I get this warning, but now I think this looks a bit better. Now to fix the warning, we have to make sure that this entire screen here is scrollable. And to make sure that it's scrollable, we can wrap this column here with single child scroll view, as we did before in the course, or we replace it with list view. Not list view builder, because here I actually won't have a super long list of items, but list view to get this automatic scrolling. So now with that you see it is scrollable. Now my titles and the ingredients are pushed all the way to the left though, because unlike column they're not centered by default. And therefore here I'll instead go back to column and wrap this with another widget with that single child scroll view widget I mentioned before, since this will make sure that the content stays centered. And with that here I can now scroll and my content is centered, which I would say looks better. And with that, we finished this details screen. Now we're actually going to come back to it a little bit later and add more features to it, because you should be able to mark meals as favorites, and this is a feature which we will add later, but for the moment it's finished. And we can now dive into another navigation pattern, and that would be tabs and having a tab bar at the bottom.